Right, I don't know if how many of you remember this game, but it's a pretty good game, and what I've done is turn that into this. So what you're looking at is map A from this angle. So here's map A, and that's what you're seeing there. Now I wasn't able to fit space-wise everything on here, so what I have is lengthwise I pretty much got it, but on that far row there, far row being that far row there, I'm short 2 hexes, 2 hex rows, and then on this side here I'm short 3 hex rows, so that's 5 hex rows total shaved off. But I still think I can make this work. And anything that appears or happens off this map, I can calculate with this map, and when the time comes, bring it on. It's doable, so I'm not worried about that. This is what you're looking at, about 3 days worth of work. It started off on a kind of a, I'm bored, I want to do something different whim. And didn't know if I had enough tiles, Kalister tiles, to do this, until I started laying them out, and I thought, I may just have enough. So the thing with that to consider is we have 3 very different levels of terrain, the lowest being out that way, and then your second level in here, and then your highest level here. I didn't have enough of the correct terrain tiles to make this work, but I had enough terrain tiles to make this work. So underneath the raised levels are tiles that are like ponds, marshes, angled slopes. I'm using those to hold up the basic flat tiles that I was short. So made that work. Then I had to determine, because if you look at this map, I had to determine how to represent all the stuff, like, see these little amoebas? Those are cover hexes, and then the greener ones are woods, and then we have shrubbery, I believe is what that is. So how to represent that? Well, I do have clump foliage. I have enough green clump foliage, for those of you that have been watching the Napoleonic videos, that I was using to represent woods. And I thought, well, I can use that to represent woods for this, although it's going to be less dense, more scattered out. How would that look? Well, I set it up and I liked it quite a bit. And then how to represent the cover hex as well. So here's what I did. Anything dark green clump foliage is the woods hex. Anything light green, and there will be 2 of them in a hex, is cover hex. So that's how I did that. And then, so yeah, I liked how that looked. And then to take it a little bit further, how to do the shrubbery. Is that what this is? Am I saying this correctly? Brush. Not shrubbery. Brush hexes. So we've got the wheat fields that we all like to use nowadays, cut out from doormats, and I have plenty of extra of that. So I just cut bits and pieces of it and laid it out where it needs to go to represent, I already forgot what it is. To represent, I think I've got early onset Alzheimer's, to represent brush hex. So that worked out. The roads I already had, for those of you that don't know, I've already mentioned this 5,000 times. Flat sheets of corkboard, that's what you want for roads. And then you just cut to your needs. It's not cheap, but I mean, once you get one purchase is all it took for me to get what I needed. Large sheets, so you have long strips. The only 2 structures we have on map A are the 2 hex building, the bridge, and the 1 hex building. I have the bridge represented with this, but the problem with this is it's so large and unwieldy. Now I say it's for 15 mil, and I believe them, but it just looks out of place on there. So I took that off and used one of the old go-to commands and colors, do-it-yourself black foam board bridges, as you can see there. Now the 2 hex building on this map is definitely not a church, but I thought, damn, that looks good as a church, so smack dab goes a church. And then the 1 hex building here is pretty much a 1 hex building. What else? The river or stream hexes, I lucked out there as well. Had just enough bends and turns and straight pieces to make it work. Sans the 2 straight pieces here, this should actually veer off 1 more hex row left and up. Didn't have the means to make that happen, so it just continued straight for another 2 hexes. Again, that's a workaround that I can deal with during in-game play. Additionally, the cemetery or graveyard behind the church is not anything you would see on this map, but aesthetically speaking, it just looks so good there, I had to put it there. So that will have no real bearing in the game other than looks. Anything else? I don't know how well you can see here, but we do have an orchard. That's just a little extra lanyard there. Got a couple of hay bales here by the building. This is pretty much all the scenery I own. This is maxed out. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 types, 5 different sets of tree types represented here. It's again everything I own. 2 types of evergreen, a couple types of deciduous or whatever you want to call those trees, and then little bitty tiny orchard looking trees. But again, I think I felt like I needed to pull out all the stops to get this to look as much like woods as possible. Now, an easy approach to this would be to go 6 mil or lower, because then you can just go with your clump foliage to represent woods. Because as much as I want to think this looks like woods, at the end of the day, it just looks like individual trees. It doesn't give the dense, thick, congested woods look. However, it does look maybe more woodsy than it did without all the trees. So again, I had just the clump foliage and that's it, and I thought, that looks pretty good like that, but I started putting the trees on and didn't stop. So I don't know, maybe you guys will let me know what you think as far as the trees, not trees, etc., or about any of this. What do the troops look like on this? So there's another thing I had batted around and haven't given up yet, but I've put it aside. How to play this ambush game, because that's where my true heart lies, as a Napoleonic game. So I was thinking I could switch out individual soldiers for individual battalions, and maybe that could work, but then you have problems of the way the game mechanics work. Things appear where they're supposed to appear. That is to say, if we run into some Germans, they will appear with firing range and movement distances in mind, and I guess the movement distances are easily amended, but at the end of the day, I don't think it was going to mesh right. So I haven't given up completely, but I think I'm better off not driving myself insane trying to force that puzzle piece into a space it doesn't want to fit in. Otherwise, again, so what do some troops look like this on this? So I do have, and you can't see them because they probably blend in way too effectively, but if you look at the corner, that far corner of the table, I do have 8. Now I understand in the game it's individual soldiers, so the other problem is I really don't want to unbase these just to pull off individual soldiers and have to put them back on. So we're going to use our imagination, and one of these, even though it's kind of like a half squad or whatever, one of these will more or less be a individual soldier. So I think we can just suspend just a tiny bit of reality to make that work. So that's what we have going there for the troops. The commanders will in fact be individual soldiers. So what do they look like on the table? Well, I guess they look like that. Actually pretty damn good. Those are German paratroopers, by the way, which are also probably not represented as far as memory serves in the ambush game, but that's what we'll be using in the end. We've got airborne. These are Flames of War miniatures that I've had forever. Airborne troops for the Americans. So Again, it's 8 soldiers versus whatever pops up along the way. We'll go more into that later. As far as the scenario, I think what I'll be using is the introductory scenario, which does in fact use map A. Go figure, map A. And the provided, the rules booklet's elsewhere right now. The provided stats for the, that's to say the pre-generated stat sheets for the Americans. Got to refamiliarize myself with the rule book, how the game plays. It's been a long time since I've messed with any of this stuff, and what I did mess with was the Pacific Theater, that being Battle Hymn, and many fond memories of that. So again, admittedly, I don't know what's happened over the years. Maybe I burned myself out a bit. Maybe the Napoleonic stuff really is all that. My heart really is with Napoleonic stuff, but you got to switch it up every once in a while, and that's what I intend to do. And for heaven's sake, it won't kill me to do an occasional World War II thing. I mean, this channel was originally born and bred on all things World War II, and it didn't hurt me any, so it won't hurt me any to revisit that stuff, and that Napoleonic stuff will be there just bigger and badder than ever when I'm ready to come back to it. So, there's your update. I can't think if there's anything else I've forgotten. If you're more interested in seeing more pictures of this, I do plan on uploading some shots to Board Game Geek. Just keep an eye out for that under the ambush entry within a week or so, if not sooner. I think that's it. All right. I hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, let me know what you think below. Suggestions, etc. And talk to you later.